Okay, I'm gonna see how quickly I can get through my thoughts. This is literally the closest that I will ever get to making a course video, but I didn't realize how passionate I was about this topic until last night, and it is a topic of mindset and truly just how powerful it is. And by no means am I a guru or anything like that, just genuinely, it bothers me and it makes me upset when someone doesn't realize the power of it and how their beliefs shape their reality. So, what all started this was that I was having a conversation with my friend last night, and we'll get into that in a second, but I just want to talk about, I have some notes right here, the perspective of things. So, when you have a negative perspective of things, you are always proving to your brain or asking your brain to prove to you why things should be negative, why you should believe this way. And this isn't your fault. This is, I believe, what we were molded and just have been shown our whole lives. And I'm not someone who's had I didn't come out of the womb with great mindset. This is something that you have to break through on your own, and I think just seeing others talk about it and kind of what you consume can either help you or destroy you. So, take for example the glass half empty or half full. So, there's no right answer, obviously, but if you say, I think I actually used to say, the glass is half empty. That's just what I used to believe. But there's no reason that the glass can't just be half full. Why does it have to be empty? And I feel like that's the way of looking at things is it's just, a matter of time before it's gone. It's already given itself away. But why can't the glass maybe in a few years or something grow? Wait, this actually, I know what I want to say. Why can't it be half full? Why can't it just take time for it to why can't it take more time for the water to, I was going to say abund. I'm not really sure if abund is the word, but more water could be a possibility, and you're so quick to say it is half empty. When things or you're working on something, it takes time for things to work. It's not going to happen overnight, and nothing worth having literally happens overnight. Simple as that. But back to what I was saying. So, I think this is one way and one thing that shows you perspective, and you can argue half full, half empty. It's, I think, really good to have different opinions and see things from different point of views, but it's just all simply comes down to the way you look at things, to your perspective of the world, to your just to your beliefs. It literally just comes down to that. Plant experiment. I don't know. No, this was actually done. I don't know where it was from, but I saw, you've heard you take one plant, you talk to it positively, and you take another one, you talk to it negatively. These plants have all of the same other factors because when you do an experiment, you can only change one variable, right? Or you don't know what caused what. So when you talk to this plant positively, the plant grows, becomes more beautiful, it flourishes and it looks nice. When you talk to this other plant negatively, say mean things to it, and it's literally simple things, just talking to this plant saying, you are beautiful, you are gonna grow, you you are a pretty plant, I don't know, and then you say to the other plant, you're ugly, you're not gonna grow, you get the idea of between negative and positive affirmations. Energy, I think, is such, I don't even know if this comes down to energy, but genuinely energy and mindset and environment, like these are a lot of factors that build up or down your beliefs. So back to the experiment, you talk this when it turns out ugly because it's been told all of these mean things, and literally an experiment was done on this. So how can you argue that having a negative mindset, it doesn't matter, that it truly doesn't make a difference between a negative and a positive mindset? Like if you have a brain, you'd sit back for a second and be like, wow, maybe the way that I do talk to myself, maybe that does make a difference. And your brain is going to prove to yourself everything that you tell it. You tell yourself that you're ugly, your brain is going to find every reason to tell you and affirm that you are ugly. You tell yourself that you're fat, your brain is going to look at you in the mirror and go, I'm fat, and that's going to be the only thing that you can, that you're conscious about. It's all you can think about because you keep on affirming that you are fat, that you are ugly, that you are broke, that you are whatever. You keep on telling yourself these negative things, your brain is going to prove you right. Like that's literally what it is built to do, to prove you right, and that makes you feel safe. Now, when you start shifting your mindset and you start telling yourself positive things, and I used to think this was cringy, I used to think this wasn't gonna work, but I wasn't the most confident in myself, and especially like my looks. I always thought I was like the ugly friend, and not even the ugly friend, but that my friends were always prettier. They were the ones always chosen, and I was like, why not me? And it was always subconsciously that I would put myself lower to make them better. Why was I doing this? I literally don't know, but I shed off these friends, and when I was going through this whole mindset thing, I just started telling myself, like, you are pretty, you are successful. When I started getting started in entrepreneurship, you are successful, money does flow your way, you are loved, you love yourself. Like literally having to tell myself that I love myself. And I did this for I think about like a month, and genuinely, so like 30 days of telling myself positive affirmations, believing in myself, one, and two, just believing that like this could potentially make a difference. Now, in the beginning, did I think that this was, the method and gonna change my life? Hell no. I literally was like, this is so stupid. This is not gonna work. I was actually against it. Again, had a negative mindset about affirmations and changing the way I think, but I saw on like YouTube and whatever that people were doing this. So it was on the canceled podcast. Tana Mojo was talking about how Jake Paul would write affirmations in the bathroom on the mirror saying, I am successful, or whatever he wanted, and that it would come true, right? Because he already believed that he had it. When he's writing these affirmations, he's affirming to himself, I am going to do this. And then what does he do? He starts aligning and believing he is doing that. And then what does he do? He does whatever goal. I don't even know where I got off track. So what I'm saying is, after these 30 days of affirming to myself, you are pretty, you do love yourself, you are doing all of these things, they slowly started coming true. And this was something I genuinely couldn't believe. And I think that is why I'm so passionate about mindset and just the way you internally talk to yourself. Like I said, I had negative beliefs about it, and that's why I am so just like, why wouldn't you just try it though? Because even though I was negative about it, some part of me deep down believed maybe something could happen, because if I didn't, then I wouldn't have done it. You know what I mean? So there's one aspect of being so just being fearing, but doing it just to see what happens. Literally, if you say your affirmations for a month and nothing happens, nothing happens. It's not like you lose anything. It's not like you invested all of this money. It literally takes 2 to 3 minutes out of your day to affirm yourself something positive, to shift your mindset. And that could, like, genuinely 2 to 3 minutes out of your day for a month could change your life, I think, in so many ways that you wouldn't expect. And no, it's not going to make you a millionaire overnight, but it might push you to put yourself in front of people. It might push you to just start doing hobbies, being okay with being alone. That is something that I had a really hard time with. And when I realized, I was like, wait, you are actually kind of cool. Like, now I can hang out with myself and not freak out because I was so reliant on others, and I believed that I needed to be with other people to be myself, to be my true self. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Genuinely the dumbest thing I've ever heard. How can you not be yourself with yourself? Makes no sense. I think that just comes from, like, childhood. I always wanted to be accepted, so I felt like the only way that I could be myself was if I was accepted and with other people. But truly, it is actually so much better being alone and not worrying about what I say or do, because a part of me just saw that others had groups and stuff. So I, obviously wanted a group. I wanted my friends. And every time that I've made a friend, I've always been shown to, one, keep my mouth a little bit more shut, and, like, two, that all I have at the end of the day is myself. All you have at the end of the day is yourself. So why would you sit and tell yourself, I can't do this, I am gonna be average, I am a loser, I am chopped? Why would you tell yourself these things when you are with yourself all the time? You should, like, would you tell your best friend that? No. So why would you tell yourself that? Like, that's something that took me so long to understand. I wouldn't tell my friend that. Why am I telling myself that? All of this to say that you can have a belief. You could have a belief of whatever, but it's all about your perspective on things, or how your perspective shifts your mindset. And this goes so much deeper, I think, like, than you truly realize. And all that I ask is that you just open your mind just a little bit, like, literally just a little bit. Came to the surface because, like I said, my friend and I were having this conversation, and he was basically saying, I am just gonna have an average life, average job, average wife who, like, and I was like, why average though? He's like, well, I'm just being honest with myself. I'm being realistic with myself. Literally, the word realistic genuinely makes me angry. Like, you have one life, and being realistic gets it caps. Being realistic caps. When you're delusional, your mind is literally like, the world is your oyster, or whatever they say. When you are being realistic, all of your thoughts and everything, you're in the box, right? And all that is this box. I think all of us, you start off in a box, right? So the limiting beliefs, all of your beliefs, they stack up to this ceiling, and you can't get out, right? And so you're telling yourself, okay, average life, average wife, average house, whatever it is that you're limiting yourself to believe. And if you literally just looked for the crack in the box, for the crack in the ceiling, your brain opens up so much, your perspective changes so much. But all it took was you to have just a little bit of delusion on one thing. I think it's truly just one thing that you need to delusionally believe, And it opens, like I said, just so many other doors. And it might not be right away, but when you delusionally believe, okay, I can have a really, I don't know, above average life, okay? You then are going to start aligning with, okay, so what does above average look like to me? How am I going to end up there? And it's not easy. Nothing worth having, like I said, is easy, but it's the fact of trying. When you try, your brain is almost going to get, I feel like, dopamine from trying and saying, wait, the way that I talk to myself, my beliefs, like it's a positive feedback loop, I think they call it. So even though you might fail, you're going to want to get up and do it again and do it. I mean, not everyone, but that's what makes the successful different than the unsuccessful, because the successful is, they say literally, the person who is successful is just the person who kept on trying. A loser that kept on trying until they got a win. That's all that it is. We were talking about, I gave the example of LeBron. LeBron thought that he was the worst at basketball. Why would he play? Why would he get on the court and shoot? Or he would, even if he did get on the court, if he believed that he sucked and that he wasn't supposed to be playing basketball, he'd shoot, and his brain is going to keep on showing him why he sucks. He's going to miss, and then it's going to be like, oh, why am I even here? He's going to shoot, he's going to miss again. Why am I here? Perspective again. He could literally sit and accept that he sucks at basketball, or he could put in the reps, figure out how to get better, and make himself better at his sport, which is what he did. That's why he is where he is now, right? That's with anything. To a little bit of, something else that's like putting the reps in, but he believed that he could be better, and that's why he chose and spent time practicing his sport. So that's, you look at anyone who's successful, they're not talking down to themselves. They're not saying, oh, yes, they do have a little bit of uncertainty. Everyone has uncertainty, and it's just, you're human. You want to feel safe. You want to trust that this is going to work. You want to know what the end result is. But going into something with a little bit of delusion, trusting your full self, and literally just having a little bit of an optimistic mindset, I think literally could propel you so much farther than you'd realize. Back to the box thing. When you keep telling yourself all these limiting beliefs, you can't grow out of a box. Like, that's just that. You're in a box and that's it. I don't know if it's like a comfort thing or why people get in the ways of themselves. And literally when I talk to people about this, they look at me like I'm crazy. And I know my friend was reading my text like, she's so annoying. She doesn't know what she's talking about. But if you read any science book, literally just going off the fact of your brain is going to prove whatever you tell it because it wants to keep you safe. So you keep telling yourself these things that are keeping you safe. No, they're keeping you in that box. And that's something scary that you should think. You want to be locked in a box your whole life? Like, I don't know. So that is basically all that I have to say about mindset. And I'm sorry if I repeated myself like a little bit. I just wanted to say, like, if you have a negative outlook on things, if you claim that you're being real with yourself, or that all that you can achieve is the ceiling, think about all that you can achieve is the ceiling. Like, how can you say that to yourself and not feel like, I think that's almost so disrespectful to yourself. You're not even giving yourself a chance to do great things. You're literally keeping yourself in the box. You are the reason that you can't go any further. And you can sit and you can cope and you can say, oh, I can't do this because I'm not pretty. Can't do this because I'm not pretty. What do you mean you can't do this because you're not pretty? Like, if anything, that is your unfair advantage, and that should make you want to work harder. That just because you aren't pretty or you aren't this or that, you find another aspect, another angle, and you go harder from there. So, take away from everything here, you are not any different from the person next to you. You might have more or less trauma, doesn't make a difference. Everyone at the end of the day has trauma, they have these limiting beliefs. It's up to you to break them and how you want to work through it. You want to sit and you want to believe you're going to live an average life because you're X, Y, and Z. So that's why you get an average life. But if you were X, Y, Z, then you could have been successful. Then up to you to believe that. But there's no reason that you can't be what you want to be. It's you versus you. And every time that you let that limiting belief win, your brain is laughing at you. Like, honestly, it's literally like, I'm winning the game. You know what I mean? So that's basically all that I have to say. I actually feel like this was a nice, like, little journal diary. I don't know. But I will see you maybe next week. Bye.